We begin deep within the earth where rough stone conceals the most precious metal known to human history and our enduring collective desire. The journey starts with excavation pulling massive rocks from the ground that show only the faintest glimmer of the treasure hiding inside them. Heavy machinery grinds these colossal boulders into fine dust, a necessary destruction that liberates the microscopic particles of gold trapped within the quartz. This powder travels through a complex chemical bath, separating the waste from the valuable elements in a process demanding absolute unwavering chemical precision. The solution creates a thick, muddy sludge, an unattractive substance that ironically holds the concentrated wealth we seek to extract and purify today. We move to the furnace room where temperatures rise dramatically, preparing to transform this raw concentrate into something recognizable as a precious metal. The heat is intense and unforgiving, melting the sludge until the impurities burn away, leaving behind a glowing pool of pure molten potential. Workers in protective gear monitor the crucible, ensuring the liquid metal reaches the exact consistency required for the initial pour into rough molds. These rough bars are not yet pure. They must undergo electrolysis, a bath where electricity strips away the final stubborn traces of silver. Anodes dissolve slowly in the solution, migrating gold atoms to the cathode sheets, building up a layer of 99.9 purity. It is a silent migration of atoms, invisible to the naked eye, but essential for achieving the investment-grade standard required by global banks. The cathodes are removed from the tank covered in high-purity gold crystals that sparkle under the factory lights like jagged and frozen sunlight. We wash these crystals thoroughly to remove any lingering acid, ensuring that nothing contaminates the final melt of this precious and refined material. The clean grain is dried and weighed with obsession, as every single gram represents a significant amount of current market value and effort. Now begins the final casting, where the pure grain is introduced to the induction furnace to become the iconic bars we all recognize. The induction coil generates a magnetic field, heating the gold instantly without direct contact, preserving its absolute purity throughout the critical melting phase. A craftsman creates a controlled flame barrier over the liquid surface, preventing oxygen from interacting with the gold and causing any unwanted oxidation. The glowing orange liquid is poured by hand into graphite molds, a moment requiring steady nerves and years of practical experience to master. As the metal hits the mold, it settles instantly, the liquid surface tension smoothing out into a perfect mirror before solidifying almost completely. A burst of flame dances across the cooling bar, a visual signature of the intense thermal exchange happening as the gold finally hardens. The mold is tipped over, releasing the brick into a water bath where it sizzles and steams, locking in the final atomic structure immediately. It emerges from the water with a matte finish, a dull yellow that hints at the brilliance we will soon coax from the surface. The craftsman picks up the heavy bar, feeling the density that distinguishes gold from every other metal found in the crust of the earth. We place the rough bar on a precision digital scale, checking that it meets the standard kilogram weight with absolutely no room for error. If the weight is slightly over, we carefully shave off the excess from the corners, collecting every filing to be melted down once again. The surface must be perfectly flat for the hallmark, so we run the bar through a high-pressure press to smooth out any irregularities. A hydraulic press descends with immense force, flattening the top face into a uniform canvas, ready to receive the refinery's prestigious official seal today. Now we position the die for the logo, aligning it centrally to ensure the branding is stamped deep into the soft, malleable yellow metal. The stamp strikes hard, leaving a crisp impression of the company insignia, a permanent mark of quality that guarantees the provenance of this asset. Next comes the most critical stamp of all the 4 nines, certifying that this object is 99.99% pure elemental gold. A unique serial number is laser etched or punched below the purity mark, giving this specific bar an individual identity within the global tracking system. The operator inspects the depth of the engraving, ensuring that every number and letter is legible and distinct against the flat plane of gold. We move to the polishing station, where the matte finish is finally buffed away to reveal the deep lustrous shine we associate with wealth. Soft cotton wheels spin at high speed, applying a fine rouge compound that gently abrades the surface without removing any measurable amount of material. As the wheel spins, the dull yellow transforms into a brilliant mirror, reflecting the lights of the atelier and the face of the craftsman. Gloves are mandatory now, as the natural oils from a human fingertip would instantly mar the pristine finish we have just worked to achieve. A final ultrasonic bath removes the polishing compound residue, vibrating the bar in a warm solution to clean even the microscopic grooves of the stamp. We dry the bar with compressed air, and soft cloth, ensuring no water spots remain to tarnish the perfection of this investment-grade bullion product. Under the inspection lamp, the gold glows with an inner fire, a heavy and cold object that oddly feels warm to the human eye. It is now physically complete, but it must pass one final rigorous set of assay tests before it can leave this secure facility today. The assay laboratory is a quiet, sterile environment where science verifies the artistry of the refinery floor with absolute mathematical certainty and rigorous chemical analysis. A tiny drilling is taken from the bar, a sacrificial sample that will prove the integrity of the entire kilogram mass beyond any doubt today. We weigh this sample on a scale so sensitive it detects air currents, requiring a glass shield to ensure an accurate reading down to micrograms. The sample is wrapped in lead foil with silver, a preparation for the cupellation process that separates noble metals from any remaining base metal impurities. Placed into a porous bone ash cupel, the sample enters the assay furnace, heating up until the lead oxidizes and is absorbed into the cupel walls. What remains is a small bead of gold and silver, which we flatten and roll into a thin strip to maximize its surface area now. This strip is boiled in nitric acid, which dissolves the silver completely, leaving behind a fragile black-colored sponge of pure gold at the beaker bottom. We anneal this gold sponge, bringing back its metallic luster before weighing it once more to calculate the exact percentage of purity in the bar. The calculation confirms the 4-9 standard, allowing the master assayer to sign the certificate of authenticity that will accompany this specific bar forever. Back on the floor, the approved bar is carefully handled with lint-free cloth, ensuring no dust settles on the mirror finish before final packaging. We place the bar into a custom-fitted blister pack, a transparent shell that protects the soft metal from scratches and environmental damage during transit. The certificate card is inserted behind the gold, displaying the serial number that matches the engraving on the metal, linking physical asset to paper trail. A machine heat seals the plastic edges, creating an airtight vacuum that preserves the mint condition of the gold for decades or even centuries to come. The sealed unit drops onto the conveyor, a sleek package of immense value that is now ready to enter the global market or private vault. Quality control inspectors check the seal one last time, looking for any bubbles or misalignments that would detract from the premium presentation of the product. We stack these finished packets into secure transport boxes, lining them up with the precision of bricks in a wall heavy with concentrated financial power. The weight of the box grows rapidly, a small container holding more value than most luxury cars, requiring strict security protocols during the handover process. Security personnel verify the inventory count against the production log, ensuring that every gram entering the facility is accounted for as it leaves the plant. The boxes are sealed with tamper-evident tape, a final layer of trust that assures the receiver that the contents have not been compromised in transit. We load the shipment into an armored vehicle, watching the doors close on a cycle of transformation that turns raw earth into pure tradable wealth. In another wing of the facility, we process gold for the minting line, where precision is measured in microns rather than simple grams or kilograms. We begin by rolling a continuous strip of 24-karat gold through heavy steel rollers, reducing its thickness to the exact specification of a coin. Laser gauges monitor the sheet, constantly adjusting the roller pressure to ensure the gold ribbon is perfectly uniform from the beginning to the very end. A blanking press punches rapid discs from the gold sheet, creating thousands of round planchets that will soon become legal tender or collectible bullion coins. The leftover webbing is immediately collected and sent back to the furnace, as our closed-loop system ensures absolutely zero waste of this expensive raw material. These blank discs are currently too hard for striking, so they enter an annealing oven to soften the crystal structure for the detailed stamping process. After heating, they are tumbled in a cleaning solution with small steel bearings burnishing the surface until each blank shines with a distinctive bright luster. An upsetting mill squeezes the edge of each disc, creating a raised rim that will protect the face of the coin from future wear and tear. The prepared planchets flow into the coining press chamber, where the master dies wait to impart intricate designs onto the smooth and receptive gold surface. These dies are masterpieces of engraving hardened steel negatives that possess the ability to transfer complex imagery onto the metal with a single powerful blow. The press strikes with tons of force, causing the solid gold to flow like a liquid, filling every microscopic crevice of the hardened steel die. It happens in a fraction of a second, transforming a plain round disc into a work of art featuring national symbols or intricate cultural figures. An automated camera photographs every single coin using advanced algorithms to detect scratches or imperfections that the human eye might miss during a long shift. We specialize in proof quality here, creating a striking contrast between the frosted relief of the image and the deep mirror background of the field. A technician in white cotton gloves spot checks the batch, holding the coin by its rim to preserve the pristine mirror finish from any oily smudges. The perfect coins are sealed immediately in hard plastic capsules, locking them in a state of suspended animation to preserve their grading condition for collectors. Unlike the heavy cast bars, these coins represent gold as a currency, an art form, a tradition that dates back thousands of years in history. We arrange the capsules in velvet-lined boxes, emphasizing the presentation of the gold as a luxury gift rather than just a sterile financial investment asset. Even the sound is distinct. When tapped, real gold produces a heavy and dull ring, unlike the high-pitched ping of lesser base metals like copper. The vault fills with these stacks of coins, a diverse inventory ranging from fractional ounces to large medallions, all forged from the same refined rock. Not all gold comes from mines. We also reclaim forgotten treasures from old jewelry boxes, giving antique heirlooms a completely new life and purpose today. Clients deliver bags of mixed scrap, a tangled mess of broken chains, bent rings, and dental gold that arrives here for a total transformation. The first step involves sorting the caratage, separating the 14-karat pieces from the 18-karat ones to estimate the yield before the melt begins. We use an X-ray fluorescence gun to shoot a beam into the metal, getting an instant digital reading of the elemental composition of every piece. Once sorted, the scrap enters the graphite crucible, a diverse collection of memories and history about to be erased by the cleansing power of fire. The furnace roars to life, melting the alloys down into a single homogeneous liquid, blending copper, silver, and gold into one dark and pure soup. We pour this dirty melt into a cone mold, creating a heavy button of unrefined metal that is far from the purity we require here. To separate the gold, we must atomize this button, turning it into small grains that offer more surface area for the aggressive chemical refining process. We introduce these grains to Aqua Regia, a potent mixture of hydrochloric and nitric acid capable of dissolving gold into a vivid orange liquid solution. The acid consumes the metal, leaving silver behind as a white chloride sludge, while the gold atoms float freely in the toxic and corrosive bath. We filter the solution through vacuum pumps, catching the debris and ensuring only the liquid gold chloride passes through to the next glass reaction vessel. Now comes the precipitation, where we add a specific reducing agent that forces the gold to drop out of the liquid solution like magical dust. The liquid turns clear as a brown mud settles at the bottom, a sediment that looks worthless, but is actually pure elemental gold in disguise. We carefully decant the waste liquid, washing the brown sediment repeatedly with distilled water to neutralize the acid and ensure the gold is perfectly clean. This powder is dried in an oven, turning light brown and resembling instant coffee, yet it weighs heavy in the hand with sheer metallic density. It is the same elemental material we extracted from the rock, indistinguishable from mined gold, once it returns to the furnace for the final melt. This recycling process reduces the environmental impact of mining, closing the loop on the supply chain and keeping the existing gold in constant circulation today. We mix this recycled grain with fresh mining supply, blending the old world with the new in a crucible that knows no history or sentiment. The molten stream pours once again, ready to become a fresh kilobar that shows no evidence of its past life as a wedding ring. It is a perpetual cycle of rebirth where the indestructible nature of gold allows it to be fashioned and refashioned endlessly without losing any quality. In a specialized corner of the atelier, we explore the limits of malleability, transforming solid metal into sheets lighter than a feather and thinner than air. We start with a ribbon of gold and cut it into small squares, sandwiching each piece between layers of specialized vellum paper for the first beat. A mechanical hammer strikes the packet rhythmically, spreading the metal outward until it reaches the edge of the paper, requiring hours of constant and deafening impact. We remove the thin sheets and cut them into 4 distinct quarters, stacking them again to repeat the process and stretch the gold even further out. Now the master gold beater takes over, using a heavy hammer with a convex face to drive the gold outward without breaking the incredibly fragile surface tension. The rhythm is hypnotic but physically demanding, as the beater must strike the center and spiral outward to ensure the leaf expands evenly in all directions. The gold becomes so thin it turns translucent, glowing with a greenish blue light when held up to the window, a sign of true atomic thinness. Air currents are the enemy here, so we work in still rooms where even a sudden breath could crumble the sheet into useless yellow dust instantly. We use bamboo tongs to handle the leaf, as metal tools would tear it and fingers would simply disintegrate the structure upon the slightest physical contact. The irregular edges are trimmed with a sharp reed knife, creating a perfect square that sits on a leather cushion waiting for its final paper book. The craftsman uses a gentle puff of breath to flatten the leaf against the paper, a delicate skill that machines have still failed to replicate successfully. These leaves are destined for diverse worlds, from gilding the domes of religious temples to decorating high-end culinary dishes where the metal is consumed as food. Leaving the quiet leaf room, we return to production noise, where we create casting grain for jewelers who prefer to melt their own custom alloys today. Molten gold is poured through a sieve into a tank of cold water, shattering the stream into thousands of perfect small spherical droplets called casting grain. These tiny golden beads look like precious caviar, easy to weigh and pour, offering maximum flexibility for the artisan who creates bespoke jewelry in small studios. We bag the grain in heavy plastic vacuum, sealing it to prevent movement, creating a flexible package of wealth that feels like sand in the hand. Every batch of grain undergoes spectroscopy, where we burn a sample in plasma to analyze the light spectrum and verify that no impurities have slipped in. Even a trace of lead or silicon could ruin a jeweler's casting, so our purity standards for grain are as rigorous as for the investment bars. The finished products move to the main vault, a room with walls of reinforced concrete and steel that represents the heart of our entire security operation. Inside the vault, the shelves are lined with the yellow metal, a staggering visual representation of labor geology and the enduring trust of the global market. We turn our attention to the invisible byproducts, specifically the water and air used to scrub the gold clean during the intense refining stages. Massive ventilation systems hang above the tanks, pulling acidic fumes away from the workers and scrubbing the air clean before it releases outside. The water used in the acid process cannot simply be discarded. It travels to a treatment plant within our facility for neutralization and recovery. We introduce precipitating agents to the wastewater, causing any microscopic particles of dissolved gold to fall out of suspension and settle as sludge. Giant filter presses squeeze this sludge, compressing it into dry cakes that are sent back to the furnace to extract the trace values inside. The remaining water is treated until it is pH neutral and perfectly clear, safe enough to be reused in the cooling systems or discharged. Nothing is wasted here because the margins are tight and the commodity is too valuable to let flow down a drain into the sewer. Beyond the fire assay, we employ inductively coupled plasma machines, advanced spectrometers that can detect impurities at the level of parts per billion today. A solution is sprayed into a plasma torch hotter than the surface of the sun, breaking atoms apart to reveal their true elemental signature. This technology allows us to certify gold for electronics and aerospace industries where even a single atom of copper could cause a circuit failure. We create specific alloys for these industrial clients, mixing gold with cobalt or nickel to alter the conductivity and hardness of the final wire. These bonding wires are drawn down to a diameter thinner than a human hair wound onto spools that hold thousands of meters of gold. The spooling machines work at high speed, guiding the fragile wire with tension sensors that prevent snapping while maintaining a consistent and tight wind. Under the microscope, the wire looks like a solid golden cable, smooth and continuous, ready to connect the microchips inside your personal smartphone. It is a reminder that gold is not just money or jewelry, it is a functional industrial metal essential for the modern digital age. We return to the production floor to observe the creation of minted bars, which differs significantly from the rough cast bars we poured earlier. Unlike casting, this process begins with a long, continuous strip of gold that is rolled and cut into precise rectangular blanks of varying weights. These blanks are weighed individually by robotic arms, which sort them into 3 categories: correct weight, too light, or slightly too heavy for production. The heavy ones are milled down by a machine that shaves a hair's width of gold from the back to achieve the perfect mass. The light ones are rejected instantly, dropping into a locked bin to be melted down and rolled again in the next scheduled production run. The perfect blanks move to the hydraulic press, which stamps the design with tons of pressure, creating a sharp mirror-like finish on the surface. The design pops against the background, the frosted relief contrasting beautifully with the polished field, a hallmark of premium Swiss-style minted gold bar quality. We employ fiber lasers to etch the serial number, cutting deep into the metal without generating heat that could warp the perfectly flat bar. This laser also applies a microtext border, letters so small they are invisible to the naked eye, readable only with a strong jeweler's loupe. For our highest security line, we emboss a holographic feature directly onto the gold diffracting light into a rainbow spectrum to prevent counterfeit attempts. The minted bar is dropped into a secure card, the packaging acting as the certificate itself, sealed with tamper-proof technology for buyer peace of mind. Under UV light, the packaging reveals a hidden pattern, a second layer of verification that ensures the product has not been opened or swapped. Robotic arms handle the final assembly, their suction cups lifting the packaged bars gently to avoid fingerprints on the clear protective plastic outer casing. A high-resolution camera scans the QR code on the back, logging the unique identity of this specific bar into our cloud-based global registry system. We place these smaller bars into boxes of 25, creating a dense brick of value that is easily stackable and transportable for international dealers. The inventory room is a fortress of organization where shelves are labeled by weight and purity, holding millions of dollars in a small footprint. Despite the automation, the master refiner walks the floor, his eyes scanning for the slightest irregularity in the rhythm of the heavy production machinery. Maintenance crews work on the offline furnaces, replacing the graphite liners that degrade under the intense heat and chemical aggression of the refining process. Even these used liners are crushed and processed as the graphite absorbs tiny particles of gold that must be reclaimed before the material is discarded. We vacuum the factory floor daily, collecting the dust from the carpets and mats, which is burned to recover the gold dust tracked by shoes. Workers' uniforms are laundered on-site, and the water from the washing machines is filtered to catch the gold dust trapped in the fabric fibers. It is an obsessive pursuit of efficiency, recognizing that gold is money, and every lost grain represents a financial leak that we must plug immediately. A custom order arrives for a central bank requiring 400-ounce good delivery bars, the standard brick used for national reserves around the world. The large furnace is prepped for this massive pour, capable of holding enough liquid gold to cast 10 of these heavy standard bars at once. The crucible tilts and a thick stream of gold flows like heavy syrup, filling the large iron molds with a satisfying and deep, radiant glow. These large bars take much longer to cool, radiating heat that distorts the air above them as the liquid metal turns into solid wealth. We quench them in water, creating a steam explosion that fills the room before lifting the heavy bars out with industrial-strength steel tongs. Each bar weighs roughly 12.5 kilograms, a density that surprises anyone attempting to lift it with just one single hand today. The shape is trapezoidal to allow for easy stacking in vaults, ensuring they lock together securely without the risk of toppling over during storage. We hand stamp the refinery seal and the year of manufacture, using a heavy hammer to drive the steel die deep into the cooling surface. Unlike the kilogram bars, these good delivery bars have a variable weight, so we must weigh them to the thousandth of a troy ounce. The assayer drills multiple holes to sample the core, ensuring the purity is consistent throughout the entire depth of this massive block of gold. We paint the weight and serial number directly onto the bar with black grease pencil, a traditional method that remains the industry standard today. These bars are destined for the deep underground vaults of London or New York, where they will likely sit untouched for decades to come. An external auditor arrives to verify the shipment, checking the physical bars against the digital manifest to ensure absolute transparency in the transaction. He strikes the bar with a small metal rod, listening for the specific ring that indicates a solid casting with no internal air pockets. We load the heavy pallets onto the armored truck, the suspension sinking visibly under the concentrated mass of so much condensed human economic value. Back in the laboratory, we analyze the waste stream from the chimney filters, recovering microscopic dust that was caught before entering the atmosphere outside. Our environmental commitment drives us to scrub the smoke until it is cleaner than the city air, neutralizing all acid fumes before release. The shift change approaches, and every worker must pass through metal detectors that are sensitive enough to find a small foil wrapper in a pocket. We step through the turnstiles, leaving the gold behind in the secure zone, washing our hands to remove any final trace of the product. It is a strange profession, working daily with a material that men have killed for, yet treating it here as a simple industrial component. The bars we poured today will travel across oceans, becoming reserve currency, wedding jewelry, or critical components in the satellites orbiting above our heads. Gold does not rust or tarnish. It is the only metal that remains eternally youthful, looking exactly the same 1,000 years from now. The lights dim in the main foundry, but the furnaces remain hot, waiting for the next shift to continue this endless cycle of refinement. The chemistry of this metal is defined by its reluctance to change, a stubborn refusal to bond with oxygen that makes it chemically immortal. While the machinery wears down and the workers age, the gold we produce here remains suspended in a permanent state of perfect, unchanging youth. There is a distinct emotional gravity in this room, knowing that we are manufacturing the very standard by which the world measures its wealth. We gaze one last time at the vault shelves where the yellow light reflects off the stacks like a captured, solid piece of sunshine. The massive steel door swings shut on silent hinges, the tumblers locking into place with a heavy mechanical thud that signals the end of work. Outside, the sun sets, but the perimeter lights flicker on, illuminating the razor wire fences that protect the sleeping fortune inside these concrete walls. By tomorrow morning, the bars we stamped will be flying to Hong Kong, Zurich, and Dubai, dispersing into the bloodstream of the global economy. We have taken a jagged, dirty rock from the ground and disciplined it into a geometric form of absolute purity and undeniable financial power. It is a process that marries brute industrial force with the delicate touch of an artist, requiring fire acid and a steady human hand. Gold is soft enough to scratch with a fingernail, yet it is hard enough to survive empires' wars and the collapse of paper currencies. In the quiet of the secured storage, the metal waits patiently, holding its value in silence, while the noisy markets of the world fluctuate wildly. We trust the 4 nines stamped on the face, not because of tradition, but because science has verified every single atom in the lattice. This is the only language that is spoken in every country without translation, a medium of exchange that is instantly recognized by every culture. Holding a bar offers a primitive satisfaction, a connection to the ancient obsession that has driven exploration and conquest for thousands of recorded years. Yet today, it is also a conductor for our digital lives, a reflector for our telescopes, and a shield for our astronauts in space. We are merely the custodians of this element, refining it for this generation before it is inevitably melted down and reshaped for the next. The refinery is a temple to permanence, a place where we fight against entropy to create something that time simply cannot destroy or degrade. The staff exits the facility, passing the armed guards, leaving the heavy burden of the gold behind to return to their normal daily lives. Their hands are empty, scrubbed clean of the dust, but their skill is embedded in every shiny bar that is now locked safely away. The plant hums with the low vibration of the induction furnaces, keeping the crucibles warm, ready to receive the next delivery of raw ore. From the atomic chaos of the mine to the ordered perfection of the bar, the journey of gold is a testament to ingenuity. Whether it sits in a central bank vault or hangs around a neck, it carries the same weight of history and intrinsic value. It is useless for making tools or weapons, yet it is the most powerful material on Earth, commanding armies and building entire nations. The luster never fades, capturing the light in a way that feels alive, a permanent yellow fire that we have learned to tame. Tomorrow, the trucks will arrive with more gray rocks, starting the arduous process of crushing, dissolving, and melting all over again from the start. We have seen the lasers, the acids, and the fires that strip away the dross to reveal the hidden nobility of the metal. The purity of 4 nines is our promise to the future, a guarantee that this object is exactly what we say it is. In a world of disposable goods and planned obsolescence, we manufacture the one thing that is designed to last forever without any decay. This factory is a single node in a vast network connecting the miners in the earth to the investors in the high towers. One final look at the finished product reveals our own reflection in the gold staring back from the surface of the mirror finish. It has outlasted every civilization that has ever coveted it, and it will likely outlast the concrete walls of this very modern factory. True wealth makes no sound, it simply exists in the heavy cold density of the bar, sitting quietly in the dark of the vault. We have achieved what the alchemists dreamed of, not by magic, but by rigorous chemistry and the precise application of intense thermal energy. Behind the automation and the robotics, there are still human eyes checking the quality, ensuring that perfection is the only standard we accept. The loop is closed, the rock is refined, and the metal is pure, ready to begin its long journey through the human story. As long as humanity values beauty and permanence, these furnaces will keep burning, transforming the rough earth into objects of pure desire today. The temperature drops, the lights go out, but the gold remains a constant presence in a universe that is otherwise defined by rapid change. We leave the floor knowing we have added to the world's stock of treasure-creating assets that will secure wealth for generations ahead. This is the essence of the refinery, a place where the chaotic geology of the planet is brought to absolute order and brilliance. From rock to bar, from dust to wealth, this is the enduring and brilliant legacy of the 24-karat gold manufacturing process today.